Anna never expected the letter to change her life, but the moment she held it she felt something heavy settle inside her chest. The envelope was old and worn, and her name was written in careful slow handwriting. She sat at the small table in her apartment staring at it for a long time before opening it. The letter spoke of an old farm left to her after the passing of her Uncle Tom. Anna had not heard that name in years, and the memory of him felt distant like a story from another life. She remembered a quiet man who worked from sunrise to night and rarely spoke about himself. After her parents were gone he became her only connection to the past, but even that connection slowly faded. When she finished reading the letter she felt confused and uneasy because she never expected to inherit anything from him. She packed her things a few days later because something inside her told her she needed to see that place again. The journey to the farm was long and silent, and the road seemed to stretch endlessly ahead of her. Fields replaced buildings and the sound of the city faded behind her. When she finally reached the old gate she stopped the car and stepped out slowly. The farm stood quiet and still as if it had been waiting. The fence leaned at odd angles and weeds pushed through the ground without care. The house stood in the center looking tired, but strong like someone who had lived a hard life. Anna took a deep breath and walked forward feeling the weight of memories pressing down on her. Inside the house the air was dry and still, and dust covered every surface. The furniture was old but clean and neatly placed. Uncle Tom had always kept things in order, and that habit showed even now. Anna walked through each room slowly touching the walls and the table and the shelves. She found notes written in small careful letters about repairs and planting schedules and weather patterns. He had lived a simple life focused on work and routine. The silence inside the house felt thick and personal, and it made her feel like she was not alone even though she knew she was. She stepped outside again, drawn toward the fields that surrounded the property. Tall corn stood in long rows moving softly in the breeze. The sound of the leaves brushing against each other reminded her of her childhood summers when she used to run through the fields laughing. Back then Uncle Tom always watched from a distance and never joined in. He would warn her to stay away from certain places, especially the corn crib behind the barn. He always said it was not safe and that she should never go near it. At the time she never questioned him, but now the memory returned stronger than ever. The corn crib stood a short distance away from the barn, and it looked older than everything else. The wood was dark and cracked, and the roof sagged slightly. As Anna walked closer she noticed the ground around it looked uneven. The soil seemed disturbed, like it had been moved not too long ago. That did not make sense because no one had lived there for months. She felt a small chill run through her even though the day was warm. She stopped in front of the corn crib door and examined it closely. Deep marks ran along the wood near the bottom. They were not made by weather or time. They looked like scratches from something heavy being dragged across the surface. Anna swallowed and told herself it was probably old damage she never noticed before. Still the feeling of unease grew stronger. As she reached for the latch she heard a sound from inside. It was low and slow like something shifting its weight carefully. The cornfields around her went quiet and even the wind seemed to stop. Her hand froze in mid-air and her heart began to beat faster. She took a step back and listened. The sound came again, softer this time but clear enough to make her breath catch. Anna felt fear but also curiosity pulling at her. She thought about leaving the farm and calling someone for help. But another part of her felt responsible. This place now belonged to her, and whatever was hidden here was part of that responsibility. She remembered how Uncle Tom always avoided questions about the corn crib. She remembered how he locked it carefully every night. She decided not to open the door yet, and stepped away slowly. As she turned back toward the house she felt the weight of the farm pressing down on her like a secret that wanted to be revealed. The sun lowered in the sky, casting long shadows across the fields. Anna knew then that inheriting the farm was not just about land or buildings. Something was buried in this place, something tied to her uncle and his silence. And she had only just begun to uncover it. Anna did not sleep well that night, and every small sound made her open her eyes. The old house creaked as the wind moved around it, and the shadows on the walls shifted slowly. She lay awake thinking about the corn crib and the sound she heard inside. Her mind tried to explain it in simple ways like an animal or loose boards, but her heart did not accept those answers. When morning came she felt tired but determined, and she knew she could not ignore what waited outside. She made a small breakfast and sat at the table looking out the window toward the fields. The corn stood tall and quiet under the early light, and the corn crib looked dark and distant. Anna reminded herself that fear would not solve anything. The farm was now her responsibility, and she needed to understand every part of it. After eating she put on old boots and a jacket and walked outside with slow steady steps. The air was cool and the sky was clear as she crossed the yard. With every step the sound of gravel under her boots felt loud in the quiet morning. When she reached the corn crib she stopped again and listened. There was no sound now. The door stood closed and still like it always had. She placed her hand on the latch and felt the rough metal under her fingers. Her heart beat fast, but she pushed the latch open and pulled the door toward her. The door opened with a long slow creak and the smell inside rushed out. It was a mix of dry corn dust and old wood. Sunlight slipped through the cracks in the walls and revealed the inside of the crib. Empty shelves lined the sides and old tools hung from nails. Nothing moved. Anna stepped inside carefully and looked around. Her shoulders relaxed slightly, and she felt almost foolish for being afraid. Then she noticed the floor. One section of wooden planks looked newer than the rest. The color was lighter, and the edges were cleaner. Anna crouched down and pressed her hand against it. The wood felt solid but different. She tapped it gently and heard a dull sound, unlike the hollow echo of the other planks. Her breath grew shallow as she realized something was hidden beneath. She searched the walls and found a small pry bar hanging behind a sack. It fit perfectly under the edge of the newer planks. With effort she lifted one board and then another. Underneath was packed soil and something wrapped in thick cloth. Anna paused and took a deep breath before pulling it free. The bundle was heavy and tied with rope that had been knotted carefully. She loosened the rope and unfolded the cloth slowly. Inside were metal boxes sealed tightly and marked with faded writing. Anna did not understand the symbols, but she knew they were not random. Her hands shook as she opened one of the boxes. Inside were old papers and notebooks filled with numbers, maps, and detailed notes. The writing matched her uncle's handwriting from the house. As she read, she began to understand that Uncle Tom had been protecting something important. The notes described land boundaries, water sources, and planting methods, but also warnings and instructions. Some pages spoke about people who once tried to take the land and how they failed. Anna felt a mix of shock and sadness. Her uncle had carried this burden alone for years. She heard footsteps outside suddenly and froze. Someone was walking near the corn crib. Anna quickly closed the box and covered the hidden space as best she could. Her heart raced as the steps grew closer. A man appeared at the door wearing a worn jacket and a cautious expression. He introduced himself as Ben, a neighbor from down the road. Ben said he heard someone had come to the farm and wanted to check in. His eyes moved around the corn crib as he spoke. Anna nodded and kept her voice calm. She told him she inherited the place and was just settling in. Ben smiled politely, but his gaze lingered on the floor. He asked if she found anything unusual. Anna shook her head and said nothing more. Ben nodded slowly and said people around here cared about the farm. After he left, Anna felt her knees weaken. She knew then that others were watching. Whatever her uncle hid was not forgotten. She closed the corn crib and walked back to the house with new understanding. This farm was more than land. It was a secret guarded for generations. And now it was her turn to decide what to do with the truth buried beneath the corn crib. Anna spent the rest of the day locked inside the house with the curtains half closed and her thoughts racing. Every sound outside made her stop and listen. She kept thinking about Ben and the way his eyes moved toward the corn crib floor. She felt sure now that her uncle's secret was known to more people than she first believed. As evening came, she sat at the table and opened the metal boxes again. She spread the papers across the surface and studied them carefully. The notebooks spoke of the land like it was alive and fragile. Uncle Tom had written about water hidden underground and soil that could grow food even during harsh seasons. He described how the farm had once saved many families during a time of great hardship. Anna realized this was not about money or power. It was about survival and protection. The farm was special, and that was why others wanted it. As night fell, Anna lit a lamp and continued reading. She found a map drawn by hand showing markings beneath the fields and near the corn crib. One mark stood out with a symbol she did not recognize. Next to it, her uncle had written a warning. The words said, "Trust only those who respect the land." Anna felt a deep sense of responsibility settle inside her. Later that night she heard a vehicle slow down near the gate. She moved quietly to the window and watched as headlights cut through the darkness. The vehicle stopped for a moment, then moved on. Anna knew she was being watched. Fear tried to take hold, but she pushed it away. She remembered how her uncle lived his life quietly but firmly. She decided she would do the same. The next morning, Anna walked the land following the map. She counted her steps and matched landmarks carefully. The cornfields felt different now, like they were hiding stories under every row. When she reached the marked spot, she stopped. The ground felt solid and untouched. She knelt and brushed away dry leaves, revealing a flat stone set into the earth. With effort she lifted the stone and uncovered a small opening. Inside was a wooden box sealed with wax. Anna opened it slowly and found a single journal wrapped in cloth. She sat there in the field and began to read. The journal told the story of her family and the land. It spoke of promises made to protect this place from being taken or misused. It spoke of passing the duty from one generation to the next. Anna felt tears fill her eyes as she understood why the farm was left to her. Her uncle believed she would care enough to protect it. She returned the journal to the box and sealed it again. She knew this knowledge had to be protected. When she returned to the house, she found Ben waiting near the porch. His face looked tense and serious. He told her others were asking questions and that the land had value people wanted. Anna listened quietly and then told him the farm would remain as it was. She said it would help people and the land would be respected. Ben studied her for a long moment, then nodded. He said her uncle would be proud. As he walked away, Anna felt a shift in the air. She knew a line had been drawn. That night, Anna stood outside looking across the fields under the stars. The farm no longer felt like a burden. It felt like a purpose. The secret was heavy, but it was also clear. She was not just an owner. She was a guardian. Anna woke before sunrise with a calm feeling she had not felt in years. The farm felt different now, like it had accepted her presence. She stepped outside and breathed in the cool morning air while the fields slowly came alive with soft sounds. She remembered the journal and the promise tied to it, and she knew what she had to do. She began her days working the land, just like her uncle once did. She repaired fences, cleared paths, and cleaned the barn. People from nearby farms noticed the changes and slowly began to visit. Anna welcomed them with kindness but spoke little about the past. She focused on planting crops using the methods written in the notebooks. The soil responded quickly and the fields grew strong and healthy. As weeks passed, the farm produced more than expected. Anna shared food with neighbors who needed it and helped families who were struggling. Word spread that the old farm was alive again. Some people came with curiosity and others with quiet respect. Those who once watched from a distance stopped asking questions. The land was no longer a mystery but a place of help. Ben returned, often bringing supplies and sharing news. He told Anna that those who wanted to take the land had moved on. They realized the farm was protected not by force but by purpose. Anna listened and felt relief settle deep inside her. She had chosen the right path. One afternoon, Anna walked to the corn crib and opened the door without fear. The space felt peaceful now. She repaired the floor and sealed the hidden area carefully. The boxes and journals remained safe beneath the boards. She did not plan to move them. Some things were meant to stay where they belonged. As the seasons changed, Anna felt more connected to the land. She learned its moods and rhythms. She spoke to it softly while working and listened when the wind moved through the corn. The farm gave back everything she put into it. It gave her strength and belonging. On a quiet evening, Anna sat on the porch watching the sunset paint the sky. She thought about her uncle and the life he lived in silence. She understood now that his silence was not emptiness but devotion. He had protected something valuable without seeking praise. She felt grateful to carry that legacy forward. Years later the farm became a place people spoke of with warmth. It helped during hard times and brought people together. Children played near the fields and learned to respect the land. Anna watched them and smiled knowing the promise would continue. The corn crib stood quietly behind the barn just as it always had. To most it was just an old building. To Anna it was a reminder of trust and responsibility. The shock of what she found there had changed her life, but it also gave it meaning. As night fell, Anna closed her eyes and listened to the sounds of the farm. She felt at peace knowing she had honored the past and shaped the future. The old farm was no longer just an inheritance. It was a living promise kept strong by care and courage.